Hello Bremerton, I'm Constance Baird. We're here at the Norm Dix Government Center, and if you've ever been to the mayor's office, you know that there are images of mayors past just lining the hallway. This particular row of mayors right here, they all have one thing in common, and that common thread, it's Elaine Valencia. She is retiring as executive assistant to the mayor after 44 years of service to our city. And after 44 years, she's got a few stories to tell. We'll talk with her on this episode of Inside Bremerton. Now we're here in Elaine's office. Elaine, 44 years.
Yeah.
My goodness, how did you get started here at the City of Bremerton?
Oh, okay. Well, my father worked for the city.
Mm-hmm.
He was the elected city clerk back in the old form of government when we had an elected mayor, commissioner of public works, commissioner of finance, and an elected city clerk. And my father was the elected city clerk. And I was home visiting. I was living elsewhere, and I was home visiting for a few weeks at my parents' house. And my dad came home from work and said, the secretary in the Parks Department just walked off the job and they're really in a bind and they really need some help. And I really know you can do it, because I had skills. I had secretarial skills. I had taken a lot of classes in, secretarial type work. And so I was like, I was just here visiting. And he was like, oh, please. So I did. I went to the Parks Department and, decided that I kind of liked it there. And so 6 months later, I competed for the job. I took a test and took a typing test, back then a shorthand test, and had to score in the top 3 and did, and was selected for the job. So my first job was in Parks and Rec.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so crazy.
Yeah.
On a whim, really.
Yeah, you're right. I was kind of reluctant, but it was a good move. And my dad knew it was a good move, but I wasn't so convinced at first. And then after I'd been there for a year, I got a phone call from the mayor at that time, Glenn Jarstead. He called me in the Parks Department and asked me if I would be willing to move to a different department and learn a different job. And it was in the, back then it was called the Planning Department. Now it's called Department of Community Development. And the department secretary there wanted to retire. And she had been with the department from the start, from the creation of the department.
Wow.
And so they wanted somebody to work with her for a while, learn the job. And so I took that job. I went to the planning department and ended up being there for 7 years.
Mm-hmm. My
So,
goodness.
yeah.
So really you came to the mayor's office then much later with all of this experience from parks and planning. So you really got to know the city before you ended up here.
Right, which helped a lot.
Oh, sure, I
To
bet.
already know how the city operated and who people were and the different resources. And so, yeah, the transition was pretty easy into the mayor's office.
Sure.
Yeah.
And how did that happen?
Well, when I was in the planning department, I worked at the counter a lot, helping people that came into the counter for, back then we had building, planning, and engineering were all at one big counter. And I would help people come in that had questions or whatever, I could do that was planning related. And I met a man named Maury Dawkins, who was a realtor at the time, and he came in a lot, and he knew my family. He had been actually next door neighbors to my family when he was a kid. And so he asked, when he was elected, he asked me if I would come to work for him in the mayor's office. So that's when I moved into the mayor's office.
What a perfect transition,
Yeah.
really, for you professionally. Yeah. And I love your personal ties. Let's talk about that a little bit. How long have you and your family been here in Bremerton?
Oh, so my parents moved here during World War II, and my
Wow.
father was in the Navy.
Mm-hmm.
And so when the war was over and he got out of the Navy, he stayed here.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's been back in the 40s. So
Sure. So you grew up here?
I grew up here. I was born at Harrison Hospital, and I went to Naval Avenue Elementary and graduated from West High back when the schools were East High, West High. Graduated from West High School, so did some classes at Olympic College. So yeah, I'm a Bremerton girl.
You sure are, born and bred for real.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, we're lucky we got to keep you.
Yeah, thanks.
So you ended up here in the mayor's office, and then how many mayors did you see through?
So Greg Wheeler is the 7th mayor that I've worked for.
Wow.
Yeah, the second mayor after Maury Dawkins was Gene Lobe, and when he came into office, he said, "Well, I don't really know you, and you don't really know me, but you know, people tell me I should just give you a chance." So he put me on probation for 3 months, and he said after 3 months we'd talk about my status. And so to the day, 3 months, he called me into his office, and I thought, oh boy, I was so nervous. And he said, "Okay, well, it's working out fine, and you can stay, but I really need you to show up at work on time every day," because I was one of those that sort of would come in 5 minutes late.
Sure.
5 minutes late. He said, "The employees are watching you. You need to be a good example." So I don't think I've been late too many times since that conversation.
That was good advice.
That
Then you
stuck
took
with
that
me.
to heart.
I did. I did.
And what about the next mayor after that?
Yeah, the next mayor after that, Louis Mentor, he just kept me, didn't say much.
And were you worried the same kind of thing?
Yeah, but we just got along real well, and it was no problem. Then the next mayor after him was Lynn Horton, and she did the same thing that Gene Lobe did. She said, "Well, you know, I don't really know you, but people say I should probably give you a chance to stay, and so you'll be on probation for 3 months." So okay, I thought to myself, I think I can do this. So 3 months to the day, she didn't say anything, and so I went into her office and I sat down and I said, "Well, you know, we were going to have a conversation after I'd been here for 3 months." And she said, "Yeah, about what?" And she says I said, "Well, just the status of my job." And she says, "Oh, you're not going to leave, are you? Please don't leave." I'm like, "No, we're good. I'll stay." So, yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
You know, I really think it takes a special skill set to be here in this office and managing really so many different personalities and priorities. And all along, you've kind of got to be Switzerland, right? You're here to get the work of the city done and to help everybody do it. What kind of skills do you think specifically that you brought to the table here?
Well, I think that one of the big skills that I feel like I have, it's something that I was sort of raised with. My father was an elected official, but my father's true profession of his heart was that he was a minister. My father was the pastor of a local church. And so I was raised caring about people and you know, people telling my father and my mother their secrets of their families, and we were just taught that we didn't talk about secrets that people had or things that needed to be kept confidential. Sure. And I also was raised just caring about people, and besides that, I really like people. I'm sort of a social service person at heart. So I feel like at this job I can satisfy my need for feeling like I'm helping people. And but besides liking people and liking to help people, I have a lot of patience.
That's very key.
Yeah, because a lot of people contact this office and they have a story to tell. And they have problems, they have issues they need help with. And I may not be able to directly help them, but I'm pretty resourceful and know maybe who I can send them to that can help them. So that helps to have a lot of patience with people and like people and want to and care about them and want to help them.
Sure, just to hear them out maybe, to hear that story that they have to tell.
Right.
What do you think that you have learned most being in this position?
Well, I've learned that running a city like Bremerton is really difficult, that the mayor has a huge job. Bremerton is a little different than most cities. we're what you call a full service city, where we have our own police department, we have our own fire department. A lot of cities contract that stuff out.
Sure.
We have our own water system or watershed.
Our own dam.
Our own dam, yeah. So I've learned that the mayor has a really big job, and that that it's really important for me to take from the mayor what I can take that are details that keep the mayor from having to spend time on littler things that I can handle, so that the mayor can concentrate on the bigger issues.
Absolutely.
So I've learned that that it's a job that I would never want to have. It's very difficult to run a city, and it's very time consuming, and it's very demanding. But also I get the best of both worlds, because I get to be right in the middle of what's going on. I get to see everything, you know, be in the middle of the action, so to say. And so it's been a perfect job for me.
Yeah. I think so too. That's the word around the city, especially, is that Elaine's the one to go to if you've got a question. You've got the answer, and rightfully so. After being in multiple places and being here now for 44 years, that's a lot of institutional knowledge that's going to be walking out the door with you.
Right. I'll try to teach my replacement as much as I can, but I won't be far away if they need me. So.
Well, that's good to know.
Right.
What are some of the other duties that you've taken on besides just assisting the mayor? I know there's a million other things that you have collected as your duties over the years as well.
Yeah. Well, for many years, while Al Duke did his 20 years as fire chief, I did his public information for him.
Oh, wow.
So if there was an incident of any kind where the press started to call, they always called me. And so then Chief Duke and I would stay in close contact on how to respond to the press on the bigger incidences. I worked the public information on the Arnold's fire, which was huge, and the Kona Village fire, which was huge, and a lot of various other fires over the years. And so a lot of people have no idea that I did that, and a lot of it was nights and weekends, but I liked helping them. It was interesting, and I didn't mind. So I don't do that. I haven't done that for the last year or so, but during the time that I did that, I really enjoyed it. The other thing is the Sister City program, and that involves sending 3 Bremerton students to our sister city, Korea, Japan, for 1 month every summer. So it's the whole process of getting them there, the selection, and getting them lessons, and doing all their travel arrangements, and then also at the same time receiving 3 students from our sister city. So for the 1 month in the summer, and finding them host families, and taking care of a lot of their arrangements and some of their activities. So that's kind of a summertime program. And then, of course, it's every 5 years a delegation visits from our sister city. And so it's entertaining a delegation of 30 to 40 Japanese dignitaries and citizens, entertaining them day and night for 3 days.
Wow.
And so that's been a lot. I've done that about 7 times.
Oh my goodness.
And it's a lot of work.
I bet it is.
Yeah.
But what a unique position. I mean, this is not something you think of when you think executive assistant to the mayor. You don't think about your sister city in Japan.
Right, right.
Good for you. What a fun experience.
Yeah, yeah. And I was, privileged and honored enough to visit the sister city twice.
Oh, wow.
On a delegation visit to our sister city. So that's been pretty special.
Absolutely.
And I hosted an exchange student, and we're still in close contact with him.
I have the feeling that this is how your job goes, Elaine. It's and. There's a lot of those, aren't there?
Yeah.
I had that feeling. So what are your plans after you retire? After being in the thick of things now for so long, what the heck do you do next?
Yeah, well, my daughter tells me that she thinks I'm going to have to get a life coach to help me, but I think I'm going to be okay. So my husband and I love to travel. We travel whenever we can, and so we'll have a lot more freedom to go more and go longer.
Sure.
And so we have a Europe trip planned coming up, and I'm sure there'll be, and hopefully there'll be several of those in the future.
Yes.
I don't know. I'm just going to take a little time and think about it. You know, there's the possibility. You know, I may do some volunteer work. I may get a part-time job. I don't know yet.
Yeah.
I'm just going to play it by ear and see.
Sure.
Just think about it for a little bit.
Well, after so many years of service to our city, you've certainly earned the right to relax and sit back a little bit and think about those things.
Yeah. Yeah.
So over the expanse of such a long career, what are some of the changes that you've seen here in the city of Bremerton over that time?
Well, when I first came to work for the city and worked downtown, downtown was the booming metropolis of the county. You know, we had JCPenney's, we had Sears, we had Bremer's, we had Montgomery Ward's, we had Conn's Minster. I mean, this is where you came to buy your clothes.
I had lunch at Woolworth's counter with my great-grandma.
Right. And then, you know, when the mall was built, you know, a lot of the stores left, which was typical of cities all over the country. It wasn't just unique to Bremerton. And so downtown was kind of bleak for a long time. A lot of empty spaces, and it was just kind of dead, and it was kind of sad.
Sure.
But over the last few years, it's coming back. It'll never be like a retail center, I don't think, but it's coming back in other ways. There's a lot of employees downtown, and so that's changed a lot.
Sure.
Right. But as far as work goes, it's kind of interesting. When I first came to work for the city, now we had electric typewriters, but we didn't have copy machines.
Sure.
We had carbon paper.
Oh,
where you would type and it would put carbon onto the piece of paper behind it.
Yeah.
We didn't have, you know, back up and it'd remove or anything. We had old school typewriters and no copy machines. And
you mentioned writing in shorthand.
I did shorthand for the meeting minutes for the planning commission meetings. And so, you know, I remember when I got my first computer.
Wow.
Yeah, it was really odd, but it was great. And,
sure.
And how the computers have changed over the years. And I mean, you'd like to think that they've made our job easier, and they have in some ways, but in some ways they've made more work.
Agreed.
We get so much, which is great. We get so much contact from the outside for people that it's so easy for people to communicate with you now. It's increased the amount of communication, which is good, but I don't think it's really lessened our workload.
Sure.
It's just different.
Absolutely.
Right.
And I imagine your office has changed just a little bit as well.
Oh gosh, yes. At Old City Hall, which is over where the Hampton is, the mayor's, so you would walk in the front door, and right there on the right, glass like a fishbowl, was the mayor's office. And across on the other side was where you'd pay your water, sewer bills, and you go past the office to get to the courtroom upstairs, or go past the office to get to the police department. And so we were so accessible that I used to say we should just change the name on the door to, instead of mayor's office, just complaint department, because people would come in, they'd be upset about, it was back when we built the new sewage treatment plant and people's sewer bills tripled, and they were very happy about paying their sewer bills, or if they were going to court and well, I'll just tell them my problem, you know, on their way to the court. So here it's different. If somebody comes 6 floors up and all the way down to the end of the hall, then, you know, they definitely need to be heard.
Sure.
They didn't just happen to just wander in.
Right.
And then, of course, this office here is probably the most beautiful office in Bremerton.
I agree.
The view here is amazing, you know, and with all the glass and the view looking out over the water, and we see the ferries go by every day, and we see all the ships that come through, and every time an aircraft carrier comes past, everything stops. Everybody goes out on the balcony and waves, and takes pictures, and so yeah, we see eagles, and it's a beautiful spot.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
When you're here just in the city of Bremerton, what are some of your favorite places to go?
Oh, okay. Well, Bremerton has a lot of fabulous parks. you know, Fountain Park is pretty special. I like to go down to Fountain Park on a hot day and just see all the families and the kids splash in the fountains. A funny story about Fountain Park is that that was something that Kerry Bozeman sort of created during when he was mayor, and Fountain Park was, when it was built, one of the very first weekends that it opened, it was like a Memorial weekend and it was warm, and he went down there on a Saturday to just see what was going on. He had envisioned that Fountain Park would be the serene place he would go and sit and read a book. And he came into work after that holiday weekend and he said, "I don't know what we created, but what we've got is a toddler water park." And so he said, "It's not what I thought it was going to be, but boy, it's great seeing all those people downtown." So it wasn't exactly what he thought it was going to be, but he loved what the result has been.
Sure, maybe one step beyond and even better, that it's interactive.
Right, and that there's so many people that enjoy it.
Sure,
yeah.
Sure.
And you know, Lions Park is really a beautiful place, and the Bremerton Central Lions Club has put a lot of time and effort and money into projects to improve that park, and it's a beautiful park. Kiwanis Park is a place where I spend time almost every day because I walk my daughter's Chihuahua during my lunch hour.
You do?
Yes, and so she's away at work, and so I walk her Chihuahua around Lions Park, and I've met lots of dogs. I know lots of dogs from Lions Park. I'm sorry, from Kiwanis Park. And it's fun to see all the people that enjoy that park too.
Yes, absolutely.
It has a great little playground and a picnic shelter, and the kids from Star of the Sea do their PE classes there and do their lunch breaks there, and so probably the parks are the most special places, I think, in Bremerton.
Sure, they're beautiful. It seems like your family must have some ties in and out of this office as well, right? After 44 years, I'm sure your kids have come by, or do you have any stories relating to your family?
Well, my daughter loved to spend time in my office, and even when she was just a young child, and as she got a little bit older and would spend time, she would answer the phone, she would take messages. One day she was in my office, and Congressman Norm Dix came in, and I introduced them, and he's like, "Oh, I'm Norm Dix," and shook her hand. And so he said, "Well, let me teach you how to shake hands." And he's like, and he taught her how to shake the hand, you know, and she's never forgotten that. And now if you were to shake her hand, she's, you know, in her 30s now, but if you were to shake her hand now, she has this nice, strong handshake, thanks to Congressman Norm Dix.
Sure. Yeah. And thanks to her mama for being here to really open up her world a little bit to serving the community as your father did. I mean, that's really quite a legacy that you're passing on.
Right. She just got her master's degree in social work.
Of course she did.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm pretty proud of her.
No, you should be. Well, is there anything that you would like to say to the City of Bremerton, Elaine?
Well, I mean, it's been great, and you know, I've loved my job, and it's kind of hard to leave, but it's just time, you know. And I hope I've helped. I'm pretty sure I've helped a few citizens with whatever they needed help with, and it's been my privilege. I've been very privileged to have this job. I've been very thankful to have this job. I've been able to put my kids through college, and you know, have a house, and I'm just thankful, very thankful for the job that I've had. Yeah.
Well, I know those of us at the city are thankful also for all your years of expertise and your service to us here within the city and to the community at large. We're all very grateful. So thanks for being here with us today to give us sort of an inside look. And boy, we wish you the best on your retirement, Elaine.
Thank you very much.
You enjoy.
I will. Thank you.